Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. So I want to show you some videos, or actually pictures. You are watching some video behind me anyways. Today's video we'll be talking about the Mahdi, and one of the signs that I talked in this video, in this channel I should say, is about the Egyptian currency. Situation right now in Egypt is so bad, people will be desperate very soon. And I said this before, that the reason WW3 will take place is because of desperation for food and whatnot. You can take a look at this chart. You can clearly see who is buying Ukraine or Russian wheat the most, and Egypt is number one, and they are so above anybody else that there is no real comparison. I think next is Turkey. Egypt is buying a lot of, they used to buy a lot of wheat from Russia, Ukraine. Now, because of the war, they cannot afford to buy anymore, and therefore the price is going up and up. People are becoming emaciated. Soon a time will come, people will be fighting on the street. So the country, Sisi, he is becoming very desperate. And what he did is he is now turning to his other Arab partners, other friends, for help. And this is what they are doing right now. As you can see right here on this picture, he is now meeting with the UAE leader and also the Israeli leader. This is something we all know, that they are normal. They have the diplomatic current relationship is very normal. So coming to Egypt, by the way, this happened in Egypt. So Israeli Prime Minister, he went to Egypt, and also UAE. I think they did it in Sharm el Sheikh. So the point here is that Egyptian situation right now is very bad. So people are almost on edge, and they might even start shouting. That would bring a lot of chaos, and this is what brings me to my topic today, which is the Mahdi. Why I am relating this with the Mahdi, or end of time. When I say the word Mahdi, I do not mean that this is what is related directly with Mahdi. What I mean by that is these events will take us slowly towards the very end of time, which would also include the coming of the Mahdi, and this is why I mentioned Mahdi when I mention end of time. Okay, so let's take a look at what is happening right now. The prophecy, I want to talk to you about the prophecy before I tell you anything else. The hadith is Sahih hadith, is reported in Sahih al-Muslim. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said, Iraq will withhold its dirham and kafis, a measurement of grain. Syria will withhold its muds and dinars, and Egypt will withhold its erodab and dinars. And you will return to where you started. You will return to where you started. You will return to where you started. Then, the flesh and blood of Abu Hurairah bear witness to that. So Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said, the Prophet, he said, Egypt will withhold its dinar, right, its currency. Very interesting, because what is the time when Egypt will withhold its currency? It is not the time after the Mahdi. This is my understanding, very subjective. You can accept it, you can reject it, up to you. But Egyptian currency will fall before the coming of the Mahdi. After the Mahdi comes, the currency that we know today, Egyptian pound, for example, or US dollar, they will not exist because of WW3. Now, for us to get to the Mahdi, we need to have WW3. Otherwise, the hadith that talks about, siwa, the hadith that talks about the sticks, the sword and whatnot that the Muslims will be using, cannot fit into this narrative if we say this technology that we know today will exist. Okay, it doesn't fit that narrative. So the WW3 has to take place. Otherwise, these prophecies that are being mentioned, and a lot of these prophecies are sahih. I accept, and I know that a lot of people say that some of these hadith that are not correct, they're not sahih, but there are hadith that are sahih, and those hadith does indicate that we will have to live in kind of like a stone age or something like that. The point here is that we have to have WW3. Now, the dirham that Egypt will withhold, what is the reason why Egyptian currency will become so scarce? Irdab and dinar. The reason for that is because what we understand from looking at the situation right now is that a time will come in Egypt, and we hope and pray, this fitan will not go to Egypt, but subhanallah, end of time, we need to be ready for it, right? We have seen Iraq, Syria, they're struggling with their economy, their currency is gone, and they made the mistake of, they made a lot of mistakes, allowing foreign, countries to invest, taking loan from IMF, and so many things. And this is something happening for a long time, not just the this president or that president, but throughout the history of Syria in the modern age, we have seen them taking loan. Even Iraq, same thing too. So Egypt will withhold because they are, or they will be very soon, cornered. Egyptian currency right now is falling. I think it was depreciated by 14%. Means the value has gone down by 14%. This is a huge number. 14% is a huge number. A time will come when Egypt will, and the Egyptian will find themselves to be cornered. As a result, the only way they can, or they will say or see how they can survive, would be to withhold their currency. And this is, I believe, what will happen. So they will deal with their own currency, or whatever currency it is. The dinar, it is mentioned dinar or irdab. It could be the name of the currency, but it could be something else. But the point here is that when I say something else, I basically mean that let's say Egypt is using dinar or irdab, right? A time will come, they might be using, or doing trade and business with something else, maybe gold or some other currency, and they will still call them dinar. Right now, Egyptian currency is called pound. Okay, so the hadith is talking about dinar. It indicates that there is a good possibility that the name of the currency of Egypt will change, but that's beside the point. I will not talk about that in this video. So the Egyptian people will find themselves cornered by the whole world. They will maybe abandon Egypt, and then Egypt will try to manipulate with their currency, not trading with their currency with some specific countries, or something else will happen to the point where this prophecy will come true and Egypt will withhold their irdab or their dinar. Now the other narrative could be that Egypt will be under sanction, which is at the moment very unlikely, but it is a possibility, because the prophecy said there is going to be something, that there is something going to happen with the currency. So we can say maybe, just maybe, Egyptian currency or Egyptian economy will be under sanction. We do not know how that will play out, but definitely there is going to be some turmoil in Egyptian economy. Something will happen. And now let me tell you a few more things, very, very important. Egypt's pound has depreciated by almost 14% after weeks of pressure on the currency, as foreign investors pulled out billions of dollars from Egypt treasury markets following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I want to give you just one more point. Can you imagine, because of the war in Russia and Ukraine, the currency fell by 14%. Can you imagine what will happen if there is a world war? What will happen to Egyptian currency? What will happen to anybody else's currency, really? The pound dropped to 18.17%, to 18 so it was 18 I think it was like above 19, but right now it is between 18.17 to 18.27 against the dollar on Monday. So that happened only few days ago, after having traded at approximately 15.7 pounds to the dollar since November 2020. So for a long time, one Egyptian currency, if you have 15.7 Egyptian pound, you can buy $1. Now, because the Egyptian pound has depreciated, you have to spend 18 18.17 or 18.27 pound to buy $1. So from 15, now it is 18. The central bank also increased overnight interest rates by 100 basis points in a surprise monetary policy meeting, citing the invasion and the coronavirus pandemic, which drive oil prices to new records. So again, these things are having effect on Egyptian economy. This is my point. And so, dear brothers and sisters, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said the Egyptian currency will be in big trouble, subhanallah, we need to be prepared for it and believe that these things will happen before the during the end of time, which we are all almost there at the very end. And Allah alam, when at the end of time the Sa'ah will actually take place, but as Prophet sallallahu said, we are living in end of time. And the coming of the Mahdi and the preparation should be there at the same time. Jazakallah khair for tuning in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.